Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show right here on KADYTV.com. We appreciate your time. We are live Monday through Friday at 4 o'clock, that specific time. We also are on Facebook, the Maria Sanchez Show. Please sign up and become a fan. And we do Twitter as well. And then somehow, I'm not the most technical person, but I figured out how to link my Twitter to LinkedIn. Didn't mean to use that word twice. And so what I tweeted over the weekend got shared on LinkedIn. Now, how do I know that? Because somebody commented on it on LinkedIn. And I was like, I didn't make that comment on LinkedIn. And so it got retweeted. So join us. You can follow us, and we'll let you know about things that are happening, when we're going to be live, something that might be special. I did Facebook today about retired chief of the police of Oxnard, John Krombach, and I'm getting better about that. I was always calling him Krombach because that's the German pronunciation. It's B-A-C-H. And my dad's German, so I'm very sensitive to those kinds of things. And everyone was like, that might be the way you say it in Germany, but not here, because he doesn't call himself that. So Chief John Krombach, that was it. His retirement gathering. And we spoke last week about being in with seniors and what seniors were talking about when all was said and done, and their life and the story, and when it's written, what do you want your story to be? How do you want your story to be told? What is going to be your elevator speech when someone talks about you or you talk about yourself? That was the same thing with Chief John Krombach. The people that came and chatted with us, everyone from District Attorney Greg Totten to Sheriff-elect Jeff Dean to Judge Back was his name also, was talking about how he led with gentle, quiet strength, and how he instilled and inspired. Even Public Information Officer David Keith said, I feel like I've lost a brother, I feel like I've lost a friend, and he was my boss. So it really made me think, again, we have this one opportunity in this life of ours to make the best of it and to make ourselves be the best that we can be. And that then was driven home on Saturday, because Saturday I had the dubious pleasure of attending a girlfriend's memorial for her husband. He was killed on his motorcycle a couple weeks ago, and she and her kids, who are like 22 and 27, they chose not to have a formal ceremony. They wanted to have a memorial. So she had a memorial. She said, come and celebrate John's life. Also John, not the same, obviously. So once again, I was reminded about how you're remembered. And so people got up. And what was most, poignant about it was that there were these big, strong men, and they'd get up there and they were all choked up, and they, were stumbling over their words and their emotions, but they were there because they cared. They obviously loved the man. And there were peals of laughter at some of the stories that were shared, because that was the point, was to try to have it be a celebration. So then fast forward to Sunday, that would be yesterday, I participated in the Love Ride, which is a fundraiser, and Jay Leno is the Grand Marshal, and he has been, I guess, for years. And this year, instead of taking as many as that would come, for whatever reasons, probably due to the economy is my guess, they limited it to 1,000 bikes. Now, there were 1,000 because a girlfriend of mine tried to register later in the week and she couldn't get in, so they were full. Most bikes had... Okay, I'm going to get a little bit coarse here because it's motorcycle lingo, and we are not regulated by the FCC, so I can't. So I'm not going to cuss, really, but just so you know. It's called bitch back when you have a passenger behind you, because usually it's a guy riding the bike, and there's a girl behind him, and usually she's, if she's a girl, she's a female. So they even called the seat, which I have on my Harley, a bitch back, because the person who is a passenger has something to lean against instead of just hugging and holding on to the rider. So there were more than 1,000 people in the ride. And coming from Ventura County, where I live, to Glendale, Harley, where the registration was, to Calamigos Ranch, where the destination was, where the party was, where the music was, where the luncheon was, I was on I call her Genevieve, and we'll show you pictures of her at some point. She's all chromed out, and she's a custom 1200 low. She's a pretty girl, but she's not the most comfortable ride, and I did that on purpose because they have the big ones, the big fat ones, the Dynas and the big boys and all that stuff, and I didn't want to be floating around on the road. I want to feel it, so you feel everything. So after 180 miles, I'm like, okay, I think I felt enough, hitting potholes and everything else. So while I'm glad I did the love ride, I'm glad I raised money for their cause, I won't do it again because it was nearly all highway miles, and that's not my idea of having a good time. Interesting, though, about being on the road, I have a hot pink, you can't miss it, full-on helmet that goes underneath here, and then it's got a visor that, and I put that down most of the time because when you're going 75 miles an hour or so, and that's because I'm following men, and men, you have this need for speed. I don't know what it is about testosterone, but God forbid that you would follow the speed limit. I don't go as fast as they do because I only go within my comfort level. I can do 70, 75, not 80, 85. So I come home last night, I washed my face, and I don't know if you all use astringent or not, but it's kind of this clearing thing that you spray on a cotton ball, and then it takes the residue of the soap off before you put on moisturizer. Black, completely black. And I was like, wow, okay, I haven't seen that before. So I do it a second time, black again. So that's with me having my visor down the entire time. So imagine the folks who don't, because a lot of the guys, my brother, I have a brother, Carlos, who rides a Harley also. He wears what they call a brain bucket, and that's just right on the top. It's the minimum requirement by the state of California. It's kind of like, okay, you pansies, we have to wear a helmet, but we don't have to wear the big thing like Maria does. So, and so their entire face, neck, and throat are exposed to the air and to the elements. So imagine how filthy they must have been. And then my girlfriend says to me, she called last night to see how was the ride. And I told her that, and she goes, so we're breathing all of that. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. So it was exceedingly poignant yesterday to be on my bike knowing that my girlfriend's husband, John, had been killed on his. And every time you take your bike out, of course, you know that that is something that could happen, and it's the exception, of course, but it's a reality too. And when I started riding bikes when I was little. I started with not even dirt bikes, a mini bike I bought when my, I think I was 11 or something. We lived across the street in the San Fernando Valley from a 10-acre field. And so I would ride it around and do that. And then I started riding Hondas with my dad. Got up to a 250, I think. And then when I became an adult, California has a class that you can take Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And if you pass that class, the state of California Department of Motor Vehicles accepts that class, and all you have to do then is go and take the test, the written test. You don't have to take the driving test. So I passed that class with a 90% and went and took my test with 100% because I'm like one of those anal overachiever type A people. And got my license, and my kids were mortified. And I have 4 kids, and they were like, no, Mommy, you're not going to get a bike. We don't want you to die. And I was like, all right. So fast forward, they're getting older. I got divorced. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this for me. So I went ahead and I was only going to get a Harley, and I did get a Harley from a local dealership here in the county, and don't regret it a moment. But I do know that when I get on her, it's, I actually pray almost the entire time that I'm on the bike. So I called my dad, who's the one that turned me on to motorcycles. He was raised in Chicago, so Harleys were huge when he was growing up, and he and his brother used to take them apart and put them back together and customize them and make them hot and fast and loud and all that stuff. And so I thought he'd be rejoicing that, his daughter was going to go, and he was like, Maria, I can't believe you're doing that. And I said, Dad, you taught me how to ride. What are you talking about? And he goes, you've either put one down or you're going to put one down. It's one or the other. Not very good odds. And I was like, oh, thanks for the vote of confidence. So I ride judiciously. I don't ride very fast. I stay within the speed limit one time, and then we'll get right back with our next guest, who is the executive officer of the RCD in an event that involves water and the state of California and your participation. And I went riding with about, I think it was about 5 guys. There's not very many women that ride. So usually with men or by myself. And they said, we're going to go to Neptune's Net. And I was like, great, I know where we're going. So I'm on the canyons. I'm enjoying the views. The smells are amazing. You can smell stuff that you don't smell in the car or even in a convertible. I'm tooling around. Next thing I know, I come upon I think it was Encinal hit Potrero or something like that. And one of the guys is off his bike, parked, standing in the street like this, facing me, his legs spread eagle. And I'm like, what? And he goes, did you know you have 5 gears on that puppy? And I was like, yeah. And I said, I know where we're going. He goes, we're a team. We're a part of a pack. We don't leave you. Now just get going. I was like, all right. So I still didn't speed up. They slowed down. So, Maria's Musings. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for watching KADYTV.com. The Maria Sanchez Show is about the county.